Oh, hello and welcome. So in this video, I'm going to look at Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Nvda, AMD, and Amazon. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with Tesla. So because the month has ended, the month of June, so let's have a look at the monthly chart just to see what we can learn from Tesla. You can see that Tesla had a massive downtrend on a monthly basis, making series of lower highs. But that changed after reaching this low on a monthly basis. We see a rally, shallow pullback, and then a rally again. So it has now gone from a sequence of lower highs to higher low. So the structure has now changed. So this is now a bullish looking price structure from a monthly point of view. If I bring in the moving averages, the monthly 20 and 50 EMA, you can see that it has now closed above both the monthly 20 and 50 EMAs. Like down here, right, when it was underneath the monthly 50, it was looking bearish. But over the last few months, it has made progress, and it has now closed above the monthly 20 and 50 EMAs. This is positive because whenever price is above the monthly 20 and 50 EMAs, you generally see positive price action. So this is definitely a good sign. On the momentum side, you can see RSI has reclaimed the 50 level. So this is positive. For positive price action, the RSI generally needs to be above the 50 level. See right here, when it crossed above the 50 level, you see strong move to the upside. So this is a good sign. And if you look at MACD, looks like MACD has completed its correction. You can see that it's now beginning to curl near the zero line right here. If it starts to move higher, that would be quite bullish. If you look at, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see that last time when it crossed right here and then started to move higher, you can see that it started to move higher, you saw a strong price action. So this is definitely a good sign. It hasn't crossed, but it's beginning to turn right at the right place. So from a monthly point of view, both the price action and momentum indicators, they look positive to me. Drilling down to the weekly basis, on a weekly basis, you can see that the weekly 20 and EMA, they're beginning to cross right here. If they start to move higher, just like this, that would be positive because we can then expect to see higher prices going forward. On a momentum indicators, RSI comfortably above the 50 level, moving higher. Look at the MACD. It's it's crossing the zero line. This is, in my opinion, a very positive sign. MACD definitely needs to be above the zero line. So when I look at the weekly and monthly price action and momentum, which are considered longer term trends, they look positive to me, which suggests to me that we should expect to see higher prices going forward in coming weeks and coming months. Now let's look at the smaller time frame, daily and maybe hourly, just to see what can we expect. So on a daily basis, what we see is that Tesla, since rising to this level, it had a correction, and then it's finding some support. If I bring in the moving averages, where did it find support? It found support at the daily 20 EMA, which is right here. And you can see that the daily 20 EMA is beginning to move higher. So these moving averages are now going to provide dynamic support. So this is definitely a good sign that it found support. Now let's analyze this price action a little bit. I'm just going to move the moving averages. So let's analyze the price action right here just to see what can we expect. So to do that, let's go to the hourly chart. I'm just going to zoom out this little bit. So you can see that this was the correction on a daily basis. Since forming this low, we see this rally and then some consolidation, and then on Friday it broke out. So on an hourly basis, you can see it has formed a higher low. and it has broken out of this consolidation pattern. So this is a good sign. So what are some of the possibilities? One possibility is that, let's say it pulls back. There's a gap right here. It fills the gap. And then this would be an important level. This is around 253. If it falls underneath this level, then the hourly higher low is in jeopardy. And then finally, on an hourly basis, this is an important level. So this is around 240. If it falls underneath this level, it starts to jeopardize the daily pattern. So if you look at the daily pattern, you can see that. Let me just zoom out. You can see that this was the previous low. So let's just get rid of these lines. So this was the previous low on an hourly basis. You don't want it to go underneath this level. If it does something like this and then does like this, then the daily pattern starts to look negative. So start to look something like this. If it does that, I'm not saying that it will do so. That's why it's important that it holds this level. So going back to the hourly chart a little bit. So on an hourly basis, so obviously this would be the first level, which is around 254, and then 240 is basically the you don't want to go underneath that. That's a no trade zone underneath this level. It starts to look the pattern starts to look negative. On the other hand, this is 265. So if there's a rally, this zone right here was a resistance. It's been pulling back a little bit. So if it goes above this level, then I would expect a test of this level, which is around 277. So on an hourly basis, look for the gap close if there's any pullback, and then 254. So that would be the first level, and then 240. This is a must-hold zone. On the other hand, if it takes out 265, then I would expect a move up to this level 277, and that basically means that on a daily basis it makes an equal high. So let's just zoom out a little bit. So it basically means that if it goes up to this level, it makes an equal high, in which case maybe we expect a shallow pullback and then resume the uptrend. But this level 240 on a daily basis is key, because underneath that level it basically means that it's going to fall below the daily 20 EMA. So even if that were to happen, I would view this to be temporary, because the weekly and monthly technical patterns are quite strong. So that's Tesla. Moving on to Apple. Apple. So if we look at Apple, you can clearly see that Apple has been trading, moving higher inside this channel, and you can see now it's at the top end of the channel. Now, previously, whenever it reached the top end of this channel, we see some pullback. So it's entirely possible that we could see some consolidation. But my view is that as long as it stays in this channel, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. Only if it breaks under, below the lower end of this channel, that's when the structure starts to look negative. But as long as it stays inside this channel, I think this is, there's nothing to worry about, and that's all there is to say. No need to overcomplicate the matter. You can clearly see that the price action is very strong, not just on a daily basis, weekly, monthly basis, so forth and so on. So moving on to Nvda next. So Nvda, you can see, so let's just get rid of it. So you can see that, it's been doing something like this. If it does something like this, then starts to look a little bit weak. So this is an important level from a daily point of view. This is 400. So you don't want it to go underneath 400. On the other hand, if I bring in the moving averages, you can see that this recent pullback found support at the daily 20 EMA. We saw the same thing happen to Tesla. Tesla, when it came back, where did it find support? At the daily 20. So did Nvda. Nvda too, pullback found support at the daily 20. Now, daily 20 has provided support a number of times, here, here. So this is an important support zone for Nvidia. If it goes underneath that, then obviously the structure starts to look weak. On the other hand, if it takes out this level, which is around 430, then I would expect 440 to be the next retest of the previous high. If I zoom out a little bit, then you can see the levels a little bit properly. So let's just zoom out so you can see the levels. You can see that it had traded between these two levels, spent quite a bit of time between 420 and 440, and then once 420 was broken, it found support around 400, and then it spent some time between 400 and 420. There was a rejection, pullback, and then on Friday it closed above 420, so it's now back inside the previous trading zone. Now there is obviously a gap right here, so if there is any pullback, then maybe the gap gets closed. But this is the key zone for 400. If it goes underneath 400 and forms a lower high, then this daily structure starts to look weak. So this is a underneath this. So this is a key level. Underneath this level, obviously the structure looks weak. On the other hand, if it does this and then moves higher, so this is the 430. If it takes out the 430, then expect the previous high of 440 to be tested. So that's how I see the levels I'm watching. The gap close right here, and 440 if there's any pullback. 430 on the upside. If 430 gets taken out, then I would look for a move up to 440. So that's Nvidia on a smaller time scale. But overall, the chart pattern looks quite strong to me. Still, the moving average is still moving higher. I'm not seeing any kind of weakness at the moment. Moving on to Microsoft next. Again, Microsoft also has a strong looking chart on a daily basis. I won't go through the weekly and the monthly because they look quite strong. Now, the pattern I'm looking at is this. So we see a move up, we see a pullback to the daily 20, and then a higher high, and then a move, pullback. So now we're seeing a rally. Now, this is an important level right here, so that's taken out. But if it falls underneath and closes here, then this pattern starts to look weak, right? So this would be if, let's say, there's weakness, and that would be also mean that it closes below the the daily 20, which has provided support right here, and it's held right here. On the other hand, if it's able to get through this level right here, then the previous high, which is around 350, comes into play. So if I zoom out to the daily, hourly basis, then you can see the levels clearly. So let's go to the hourly basis, then you can see the levels clearly. So you can see that during this correction, it fell to this level, rally, shallow pullback, and then move higher. There's a gap right here, so I'm watching this gap to see if that gap closes. So let's say if it pulls back and close the gap, which is fine, and then if it does, takes out this level, then I would expect it to move to this level. And that would basically mean that on an hourly basis, the higher low is going to be intact. On the other hand, so this is the bullish case. The bearish case would be, let's say it not only closes the gap, it goes underneath this level, a higher low, and then breaks this level. So in that case, not only the hourly structure is in jeopardy, but the daily structure is also in jeopardy. So watch these levels. First, this level right here. What is this number? This is around 333. And then underneath this 328. Those would be the two levels. 328 is an important level. Underneath this, then we're looking at 322. But if it takes out this level, which is 343, then I would expect a move up to 350. So that's Microsoft. Let's look at Amazon. So on a daily basis first. So you can clearly see that the price is gradually moving higher. If I bring in the moving averages, They are above the moving averages. So there's nothing concerning about the daily structure. So if I look at on a smaller time frame, you can see that Microsoft has been trading in this zone. So the downside of this zone is around 127.50. The upside is around 131.50. So if it moves above 131.50, it's going to break out of this consolidation to the upside. So that's positive. On the other hand, look for this level, 127.50. Underneath 127.50, then you're looking at this level, 124. But overall, as I said, the price structure looks solid to me. It's positive, moving higher. The daily moving averages are all moving higher. But at least on a smaller time scale, watch this level right here to see which way Amazon breaks, whether to the upside or whether to the downside. Let's look at Google next. So let's look at Google on a daily basis. Google to me is quite interesting. And I think there could be an opportunity right here. Among the big tech stocks, Google has been quite weak. Google and AMD. You can see that this was an important support level. Having traded in this zone for quite some time, it broke to the downside, and then it found support right here. Where is this level in relation to the moving averages? You can see this level is at the daily 50 EMA. You can see that Tesla, Microsoft, Nvda, they managed to hold their daily 20 EMA, which was right here. Initially it did, but then eventually it broke the daily 20 EMA, but managed to hold the daily 50 EMA. So right now you can see it's trapped between the daily 20 and 50 EMA. So from a price action point of view, I want to see whether it can reclaim this level. So this is 122. Because this was the previous swing low, and then so now it's come back to this level. Now if it does something like this, goes through this level and then retests and does something like this, to me that would be bullish. If it does that, it goes through 122, retest the 122, then I would expect a move back towards the previous high, which is around 130. On the other hand, if it does, if it gets rejected and comes back down here, so that would show that it's still kind of weak. So I'm looking to see how it resolves the 122 area. So that's from a price action point of view. Now, from a momentum point of view, you can see the MACD is moving lower. Now, MACD is at an important level. This is the zero line. If let's say if it moves higher, I would expect MACD to curl and start to move higher, something like this. I would not expect MACD to cross and move below the zero line. That would be negative. In other words, if MACD does this, something like this, that would be negative. You want MACD to cross right here and start to move higher. If so, that would be positive. Also, look at RSI. RSI fell below 50 and it's now just underneath 50. It closed at 49.22. I'm looking to see whether RSI can reclaim the 50 level. RSI above 50 is positive. RSI below 50 is negative. You can see right here when RSI reclaimed the 50 and then it stayed above 50 until this point, you can see positive price action. You can see when it fell below the 50 right here, we see weak price action. So it's very important to see how RSI gets resolved. If it moves, gets back above and stays above, I would expect price to move higher. So I think Google is an interesting scenario. There could be a possibility on the long side, and there could be also a possibility on the short side. So I'm looking to see how the RSI behaves, how the price action behaves. So 122 above 122 and retest, that's a long situation. RSI above 50, definitely long situation. MACD crossing and moving higher, definitely long situation. MACD moving like this way, not a good sign. RSI getting rejected at the 50, not a good sign. So watch Google. Google to me is very interesting. So next few days will tell us whether Google wants to move higher or whether we see Google come back, maybe retest this level and does something like this. So that's Google. AMD. AMD is similar to Google. So AMD. So let's hide these and look at the structure first. So AMD, big correction. Where did it find support? So found support at the daily 20. It fell below the daily 20. The 20 found support at the daily 50. Now it's trapped below the daily 20 and 50. So this AMD is similar to Google in many respects. Now let's get rid of the moving averages. Now the level I'm watching is this right here. So this was the previous swing low, which is around 116.5. Now it's rebounding. I want to see whether it can reclaim this 150 from a price action point of view. Now, if it does that, so now that it's rising and it forms a lower high, that would be negative. But on the other hand, if it reclaims that and retests the 116 level and does that to me is positive. So I want to see whether it can reclaim 116. So that's number one. From a momentum point of view, you can see that MACD has corrected and it's now at near the zero line and it's beginning to curl. So is this going to do something like this, similar to a cross right here, or is that going to cross below the zero line? Like this, it's going to cross below the zero line. If it crosses below the zero line, that would be negative. But if it crosses, holds the zero line and does that, that would be positive. Also look at RSI. Where is it? At the 50 level, just above 50. So if it continues to move higher, RSI, if it continues to move higher, I would expect further move to the upside. On the other hand, if RSI does something like this, falls back below the 50 level, then I would expect price action to be weak. So both AMD and Google, they may provide some opportunities both on the upside and on the downside. For the upside, look for 116 level. Look at RSI. RSI must hold the 50 level. Look at MACD to start to move higher. And so that if you see that, then the trade would be on the long side. But if you see a rejection at this level, you see RSI falling back below the 50, so that would not be good. So we'll see how AMD and Google resolve this situation in coming days. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching the video. You can follow me on Twitter. So this is my Twitter page. I do provide update trading ideas during market hours. Also, you can consider subscribing if you haven't done so. Press the like button, all that good stuff. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope to see you again on a future video. Bye for now.